Well, another episode of We Don't Color on the Dog. We have Darien Shaefer, CEO and president of Visit Pensacola. The house always surprises us, and it looks like tourism is getting blindsided. New House Bill 1221. Darren, tell us some of the specifics of it for our viewers, and then we can talk about how damaging this can be for us.
Every year there seems to be some piece of legislation that has to do with tourism development tax. And often it's that legislation is trying to expand the uses of TDT beyond what it was designed to do. Going back, the lodging industry said, yeah, we'll tax ourselves. We'll agree to that if you use it for tourism promotion and destination development. And ever since then, it seems like the legislators want to use it for different things or expand the use of it beyond that, but still continue just to tax lodging industry, make that a burden of the lodging community. And often, the industry comes out and talks about why this is a unique situation and why this is an economic engine that has benefited the state of Florida in so many ways that at this point, because of tourism, we don't have income tax. So that's a direct benefit that residents enjoy every day. And so this latest legislation originally started off as a suggestion that tourism development tax should be brought up for referendum like every 8 years. And industry, I don't think is a fan of that because it's not a tax that's on our residents. It's truly a tax that is on lodging, which is primarily visitors. And of course, visitors not only pay TDT tax, but they pay that same local option sales tax. So our visitors generate a lot of taxes for our local community. So the referendum was the initial bill. And then kind of in the middle of the night, there was this amendment that was attached on that said, and we want to change the use of TDT so that none of it is used for tourism promotion and development anymore.
Well, and this is an industry that the impact economically, I mean, y'all have done, I mean, annually you give a report on the economic impact of tourism for our community. It pays a whole lot of bills, creates a whole lot of jobs, and every job is a ripple effect because they're all local jobs, which makes it different maybe than other industries. And it I know it's tempting because it's a big pot of money on one side. You look at it, but without that kind of advertising that it does, we would be at a great disadvantage, particularly here in the Panhandle, don't you think, Darren?
Well, sure. I mean, when we look at some of our peer destinations to the east of us and to the west of us over in Alabama, I mean, they have larger budgets, so they can have a louder voice. So we have to work very smartly. We have to really use our research and target where we advertise. We have to, go after the core origin markets, but also, look at how do we expand? What are new emerging markets for us? And we've done some great things with helping support the airport, and you see its success over the last 4 or 5 years has really been phenomenal. There's lots of ways that tourism development tax is spent, and it's not just on marketing. I mean, we receive certainly a portion of it, but it helped build the Pensacola Base Center, and now it'll be used to help renovate and expand it. We just spent $9 million of TDT to renourish the beach in Pensacola Beach, gateway signage, helping with the UWF football stadium. And we just spent close to $40 million of TDT, which now is all up in the air because none of those agreements happened before January 1st of 2025, which is what this legislation has set a deadline.
Right, which then jeopardizes any kind of bond issues, any of that, all that conversation puts a lot of things on hold. And it's just such a, you just look at, to me, it's Darren, it's kind of like when we saw the initial board of trustees for UWF and we started saying, you start tinkering with something that's really working, the economic impact is generational. It's hard to come back from. And fortunately, the community banded together for UWF. If we can band together to keep the TDC and keep the bed tax, it's the same thing. Generationally, I don't know how we come back, how tourism, I mean, Orlando will always have an audience. Miami may always have an audience, but we've got to hustle. And to do something like the Sun Belt tournament or the SEC women's soccer that we bring here, we can't recover from it.
All those things are made possible by TDT and the organizations that are funded by it. Visit Pensacola is the destination marketing organization for all of Escambia County. You've got Pensacola Sports, you have Arts, Culture, and Entertainment, but you have the UWF Historic Trust on the history side of things. There's a lot of organizations that receive TDT funding, and a lot of arts and culture organizations that our residents really enjoy. They would be significantly negatively impacted if TDT was repurposed just to cover property tax. And let me say this. I think one of the things that we're always most proud of is we know how important that the work we do at Visit Pensacola impacts our local businesses and the employees that they support. And so we know how important it is to be successful, to keep bringing visitors in, to support our restaurants, to support our attractions, our lodging, because all these visitors, like we've said, they generate these taxes that are above and beyond TDT. It's sales option tax. So, when we do our annual reports, when we do our research, what we have continually found out that is if we didn't have our visitors, if those went away, then we know that every household would have to pay, what is it, $513 more a year just to maintain those services. And that's because it is a combination of TDT and local option sales tax and other taxes they may generate. The idea that we could take the 22 million in TDT and spread it on property tax. Well, we've got like 131,000 housing units. And so if you divide it out, that's $156 in property tax relief. But otherwise, we're currently saving them over $500.
Right.
That math doesn't work out.
Right.
That is not in the best interest of our residents to even pretend that this is really going to be property tax relief.
Great point. It's and that is sort of for the first time, this idea of doing away from property taxes came out of nowhere. The governor started talking about it at the first of the year. He's very big on talking about, that what the elected officials need to be consistent with the voters and loyal to the voters, enact laws that based on what they ran on. He didn't run on this. This is coming out of nowhere, and it's taking one of our most profitable businesses as far as for our communities. I just think of all the events that y'all help. I mean, we wouldn't have the Sun Belt tournament. We know that. We wouldn't have SEC women's soccer here. And there are a lot of other things. Those jump out the most because that notoriety helps us so much because those people come back to see us. But then you look at how many people are employed and just shifting from where, okay, well, let all the hoteliers do their own advertising. The message won't be consistent. It won't. That's the other beauty of Visit Pensacola is we have a very consistent message that carries out through all the components of marketing this area.
Well, and that's why Visit Pensacola was formed back in 2014, specifically to not have all this duplication of work, but have one voice, one message that we could all get behind. And that would give us the loudest voice because, anybody who says they don't believe in marketing, I can give them example after example. And I know all of our elected officials believe in marketing. Otherwise, they wouldn't have yard signs and door notices and social media posts and all of that. But what I guess when it comes down to it, we have an economic engine here that found a way to self-fund itself, right? They collect their own taxes and it goes back into tourism promotion and development and expands beyond already, I think, a little bit of what its original purpose has been. And as a result, tourism for the state has made it possible not to have income tax. Now, to try to pile another thing on the tourism industry that includes property tax. I mean, I get it, man. I wish I didn't have to pay property tax, but government has to be supported and paid for. And if it's not one thing, it's going to be somewhere else. But I think that when you look at TDT and the percentages, I mean, I think TDT collections is 9.36% and local option sales tax or ad valorem was 218 million versus 20 million. I mean, there's no way that TDTs can offset property taxes to the point that it makes any sense. But otherwise, we'll undermine local businesses. If your favorite restaurant loses 25% of its business, we learned from COVID, that's tough. That's tough to come back from. That's tough to fight through. And that's exactly what would happen. If we start losing visitors, your favorite restaurants that get supported by them will struggle.
Darren, what are y'all asking? What can viewers and our readers do to help? What would you like us? What's the call to action?
Letting our representatives know strongly how we feel about the importance of tourism development tax and how it benefits Escambia County, and asking them to vote no on these two bills, because there's House Bill 1221 and then House Bill 7033. So opposing both of those. And it's interesting. 7033 is interesting because they put it in amongst a bunch of other tax changes as well. So it's a little buried, and that sometimes makes it hard, because people will, I've heard this, the legislators say, well, it's a yes for now, or it's a yes for today, meaning down the road, maybe this bill has to be changed. And we pull out some of the things that were snuck into it. And that's our hope.
Well, and we need to kill it before it goes to the governor, because based on what we're seeing is the governor, anything to cut property taxes seems to be on his checklist. So we've got to stop it before it gets to his desk.
Yeah, I can't imagine how it's in anyone's interest, any resident's interest, to see the tourism industry get derailed, and then the cascading effect that'll happen. I mean, you're going to see property values change. I mean, tourism is so immersed into the fabric of the state of Florida that people should be really careful about taking it apart.
Right. Well, Darren, thank you so much for doing this. We'll get the word out. We'll get the podcast up as quick as we can.
Just a friend. I asked her